Good afternoon, everyone. This is Vinod from Tally Snippet, and we are started with a new release called 6.6.3. That is the latest release in Tally. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to create a sales invoice for a service provided and a goods sold, and a goods sold with a service in it too. So I'm going to start from master creations and how to activate GST, how to set up the sales invoice and how to print them, and how to configure them for a printing if I'm going to print all of them in one shot. So let's see how to do that. So I've created a brand new company for us, and let's see how to go forward for this list. So before I go forward, these are the content that I'm trying to build right now. So the company that I've created right now is a Compute Tech, and they are dealing with softwares and computer sales. And they have their own GST number. I've created a company, and now I'm going to activate or add a GST to my company. To activate or add a GST to my company, so I'll go back to my F11 and I'll go to statutory and taxation feature. Here you can see that I have the statutory taxation feature, and I'm going to set the GST yes and set the details. Which part of the country I am in, which state I am in, I can set all of them in here. And am I dealing with a regular GST or a composition part of GST, and what is the financial year, and I'm going to give my number here. So again, when you're working in Tally, if you are giving a wrong GST number, the Tally will automatically tell you that you are doing a wrong GST number like this. So it has a database which allows you to find out the exact GST number. So when you're dealing with GST numbers, if it pops up an error here, then immediately talk to your supplier or customer and ask them to or get their right GST number so that you give the right GST number in your invoice. Enter. Anyway, I'm just doing it for the practical or the learning purposes, so I'm not so keen in giving the right GST number. Only the format of the GST number is what I'm so keen to work around. Then I'll ask you for a periodicity of G or GST year 1. Now I'm going to add the GST year 1 periodicity. So again, when you come to the GST part, what is the periodicity of GST year 1 talks about? If your turnover is 1.5 crore and above for a year, then you have to file your GSTR 1 monthly like you do your GSTR 3B. If your total turnover for a year is what you want below 1.5 crore, then you can choose quarterly. So my company is a very small company, so I'm going to choose quarterly here. And your reviewable setups can also all be done. Let's see how to do that, and keep giving enter and save it. So now my GST is ready. So the next part that I'm keen in is whenever I create a transaction, I will keep the track of my party name and their GST details and all the stuff. So first I'm going to create normal invoice. I'm going to create 2 service invoice here, and I'm going to create 1 product invoice, and then I'm going to make the product and service invoice together in the subsequent point. So let's see how to do this as a logic. So I'm going to go one by one at a time. So I'm not going to do everything in one shot. So let's see how to do this. So first I'm going to create 2 customers here. One customer from the local or within the state. I'm dealing this as an intra-state sales. And the next one is going to be my interstate sales. So let's create these products, these party name and their respective GSTs and the respective ledgers that is required for a GST. So let's do it. So I'm going to create, because I have a 18% slab in here, and you can see I have a 5% slab here. Again, I'm going to go with the 5% slab in here. So I have 2 slabs coming up here. So I have to be very careful when I deal with it. Let me just create the party names first. So let me just go for the first part is Lapses Private Limited. Whenever I build a party name like this, it's better give their complete details. So give their address another component here. So let me just add a dummy address here, something like this. 30 11th Main Road, 5th Avenue, Nana Nagar, Chennai. Then I give their pin code. That will make the complete list. And now I'm going to give their PAN card number. So PAN card number is this. This is their PAN card number. So I'm going to just copy it and paste it. To copy paste in Tally, just give Control C to copy from the other document. When you want to paste or copy anything from Tally, here I'll do Control C. You will get the this here. Control Alt V will be the keyboard shortcut for this. Again, as I told you earlier, if my GST number is wrong, then it's going to pop up a message. At the moment, I'm just teaching you how to do that. So I'm trying to make everything as good as possible here. So my first party name is ready. Then I'm going to create the next party name. This party is belong to another state, Karnataka. So I'm going to just come back in here and then come back to this point. I don't know the address here, so I'm going to just say Bangalore, and then I'm going to just go ahead with it. And I'm going to say Karnataka. And some numbers I'll give here. Then when I come down here, again, I'm going to just pick their PAN number. And I'll pick the GST number. Now I got all this list. So these are all people who belong to a regular GST person. So I pick up each and every type of the data and what they deal with it. For the first time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change this logic to a better point. I'm buying a product from one of the dealer here and I'm selling it to one of the end using customer. So I need these two people also. So I'm going to create this line here. And he's my supplier. And he's in Chennai. So I'm going to just give his area alone. Not much detail about it. But whatever I give in here is all original data. So this is for exercise purpose. So there is nothing to do with our data here. So we are just normally using how to use this point. This is a perfect number. Now it won't shout at me because I just want to show you the difference between the wrong GS number fed and the GS number which is available in the list, how you feed it. Finally, I have one more person and he's one of my customers. So I'm going to just add his name here and he's buying the product from me. And he's my end user. So I'm not really bothered much about any of the details. When I come down to this portion, the registration type, I'm going to convert this into a consumer and save it. It will not ask me for a GST number here if I do so. Now I got all this list. Now I need an input SGST at 9%. If you want to be more specific, you can just even name them also. What is SGST is all about. And then I'm going to put them on duties and taxes, GST, and I'm going to call this a state tax. Generally, we don't round off the taxes. So now I want one more ledger for the 5%. So it's 2.5%. GST, again, state, and save it. Now I want to give the output VAT here. So I'll take the in out of the list. And this is going to be my output CG. Okay. I made the input part. Now I want to make the output part for the same. So again, I'm coming to this point, GST, state tax. Then again, I'm doing another output for 9%. The same way, I'm going to create the input for CGST, that is central tax. You can be more specific if you wanted to. Sometimes if you don't want to do it, you can leave it as it is. It is literally up to us. So I made all of them, and if there is a Naya Paisa comes into play, let me round them off for the round off ledger here. You can set this round off ledger under indirect expenses and leave it as it is. Some people will do the type of ledger component in here, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to do that when I deal with my voucher class. So again, this is not applicable because we don't put a tax on our rounding off. Rounding off is to round off the ledgers or the invoicings here. Hope I did everything correctly. Let me just check out. So I have input CGST, SGST, yes, right, output CGST, SGST, perfect. Rounding off my partners on, okay, perfect. Now, if you are making data, it's better to keep them in one dimension. You can manually do this transaction, but I wish to do them with a voucher class templates here. So how do I create a voucher class? So I'm going to create a voucher class for my purchase and as well as for my sales. So to do that, I will come back to my accounts info, voucher type, alter, and I'll pick the purchase here. So I have a purchase in this list, and I'm going to call this because I have a purchase entry made locally, and I made a sales here again locally. I have two sales coming up here for the point. Okay, when it comes to sales only, I have a lot of information. In purchase, I don't have too much of information. So I'm going to say local purchase at 5%. Then I'm going to create this, and I need to create the ledger called local purchase here. Again, local purchase, I'm going to specify the ledger as 5% here. I missed this, yes. Now I'm going to just say yes, and I'm buying this product for 5%. So the product is computer. Okay, I'll write it as computer itself, and then I can set my, this is not an SAC code, this is a HSN code. So it's 8471 space 4120, and this is purchase taxable 18%, yes, and it is a goods. And I'm going to come down here, I'm going to just say input state tax, input central tax, and rounding off. When I come to the rounding off in here, I'm going to choose my total amount rounding off and normal rounding to the nearest 1 rupee or next 1 rupee possible, and save it. I'm going to go for the sales right now. Again, in sales, I'm going to create two parts because I'm selling in two different logics. So local sales at 18%, and I'm going to create local sales at 18%. Again, sales, and when I come down here, I'm going to set this as yes, and I'm selling a computer service here, computer software here. So I'll make it a software, and I call this number as 9973. That's the code, and I'm making a local sales here. So first I'll select sales taxable at 18%, and it is a service, not a goods. And I'm going to just say output state, output center, rounding off. As usual, when I come to rounding off, I'm going to do a normal rounding here. And I have an interstate sales, 18%. And here, when I come down here, I'm going to create interstate sales at 18%. And the rest of them going to remain same. Again, I'm selling a software here. And this is interstate taxable, interstate sales taxable, 18%. It is also a service. And I'm going to just take out the output tax, output tax, rounding off, total amount rounding to the normal rounding one. And finally, I have one more point called local sales at 5%. Local sales. I'm creating a lot of ledgers here by giving all C. Probably you would have come across these in my previous videos. Just go through that so you will get an idea far better when you work with this. I'm setting this. This is a goods. I'm selling it. And yes, I'm saving this. I'm going to say output local tax, output central tax, and rounding off comes as normal. So here I need to have one more ledger. So let me add that ledger alone at last, because that is a manual ledger that I'm going to do it. I'm going to say installation charges. And it is my indirect income. And this is also installation charges. Again, installation charges has a separate HSN code for us. It is a service code. I will not call it as HSN code. I'm sorry about that. So it's 995469. I kept everything ready for us. It is a local sales, that is sales taxable, and it's going to be 18% here. And it is a service that I render here. So perfect. So I made almost all the data is ready. So let me do my first invoice here. I'm going to make an intrastate, that is a local sales invoice. So I'll go back to my accounting voucher. And for the sales entry, I will use F8. When I click F8, it automatically gives you the multiple voucher class that I have created here, which talks about my local sales, my interstate sales, and my other list. But again, I've made one small error here, because when I created my voucher class in sales, I didn't do the IGST. Instead, I did a CGST and SGST. So let me just remove that part alone. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to say Alt C output CGST at 18%. Actually, I've done a mistake here. I missed it. That's why I just was keep checking whether I did anything or what. Yes. Now rounding off as total amount to the normal rounding off 1 rupee, and the rest of them are fine. So now first I'm making a sale here, and the sale dates are not given. So I'm going to just take the date by myself, and I'm going to give an invoice number here as one itself. And then this is for the Lapsus Private Limited Company, and I'm selling an Office 365. Again, I didn't create the items here. So let me create the items here. Office 365 application for business. And this is going to be a service based on the number of days that we use. So I'm going to say days. And I don't think we have a days here. So let me just call it as a number itself. So that will be better in our list. So when I create an item, you can see a line here called UQC. This is more important, because this is how the common people can understand that this is the units of measure that you have done. If the units of measure doesn't exist in here, try to follow any of the units of measures given in this list of UQC for us. So I always do one list here, and I'm going to set this as yes. And this is a software again. So now I'm going to set the SEC code here. The SEC code is 9973, and it is taxable at 18%. And it is a service for me. So when I create this, now I created this as an item. If you want, you can create this as a ledger if you wanted to. I'm creating this as an item. So I'm going to sell one product here at the rate of 545. And you can see automatically it calculates my entire taxes by itself, and it gives the rounding off value for me. So now I got my first invoice done. Now I'm going to do the second invoice, which is also a service invoice. But again, I'm selling this as an item. So I'm going to make this on 10/4, but this time I'm changing my data to interstate sales so that my IGST will come into play. It picks up the data correctly. Then I'm taking the party name, and I'm using the same item again. I'm selling the same product, and you can see that it is not allowing me to do that. So there is a glitch in my data. So I choose the point correctly. Everything is right. So let me do this manually without using the voucher class. So let me just come back to this point, F8, and I'm going to say not applicable. And I'll come here and pick the party name and the items 545. And when I come down here, I'm going to choose output IGST. Yes, I don't have that ledger here. What did I do? So let me create that ledger, output IGST at 9%. I created one, but I think that I've done it wrongly somewhere. So now I'm adjusting it. So now it picks up the right data and it gives you the rounding off for me. So now when I do the manual rounding off, this is where I need my rounding off to come properly. So I just altered it. Now the rounding off will automatically happen in my list here. The second invoice is also done. Now I'm going to buy a product here. So I'll go back to my purchase, select the local purchase here, and I bought this. Let's keep it as this point. Then I'm buying it from this guy, and I need a computer here to do so. Sorry about that. Forgive me, guys. I just started using a lot of keyboards, so it's giving me a lot of fuss here. So I'm going to create the computers here. And it's going to be a number again. I'm going to set this as yes. And I'm buying a product here. And the computer products HSN code is 847-14120. Again, I've set all of them in my purchase and sales, but I never did that in my item part. So now I'm doing that in my item part. So, and then I'm buying one product at 24,000 rupees. You can see automatically it calculates my list. There is no rounding off figure that comes up here. And this is my first purchase that I made. Now I'm making a sales invoice. Again, this is going to be very interesting because I'm choosing a sales invoice here where I'm going to add one more dimension here. Now, again, I'm not going to use the list. I'm going to sell this to one of my customer who is an end user, and I'm selling a computer for him. Whatever computer that I bought, I'm selling that to him. And then I am adding the local sales, and I'm adding the output. And when I come down to this point, instead of putting an output, I need to add my installation charges also, because that is where my data comes into play. I'm charging 2,000 rupees for installation rather. Now, when I add my output GST, it's going to take my data correctly. So first I'm going to do an output GST for my product. And the next output GST is for my service. So now I save this list. So now I can print one by one or all at once. So let me print one by one. So to do that, I can either just go back to the books, display, accounts book, and sales register. You can see all my sales are here. I can print one by one. Alt P. This gives you the printout option for me. I can print them up as we are all doing things right now. So now we can see that I have my list of invoice have come up very nicely. You can see that this is how the Tally prints our invoices. And I'm going to take the printout of the last invoice that I built right now. Here we go. It shows you the services separately and it shows you the products separately. As I didn't give the address and other component for these people, so it is giving you a list like this. Now I want to print all these bills in one shot. Then I will use multi-account printing, also multi-voucher printing. Then I choose what voucher that I want to print and from when. Excuse me. And I'm going to just give something. Probably generally this is done on everyday basis, but I'm doing it as one part. Now we can see the first invoice, down arrow, second invoice, down arrow, third invoice. All my invoices will be done one by one here. Again, I just gave only for 2 dates here. So that's why it's not showing me a third invoice for me. Let me add this until 30th of April itself. So first invoice, second invoice, and third invoice. I can print them all one by one using a multi-voucher printing. And this will not be active, or this multi-accounting printing will not be shown if you are using an educational version in your system. This is how we do our invoicing in Tally. So today I taught you how to work with a service invoice, how to work with a trading invoice, how to put them together, both of them together, and how to print and how to configure the print using a multi voucher printing options. Hope you enjoy the video, how to create each and every item. In certain cases where I've skipped one or two, read this video one more time so you get a clarity of what we did. I've created one unwanted ledger in here. So if I can able to delete that, that would be really very nice. Don't create extra ledgers. Create or try to use the ledger whatever we have with it. Unless otherwise we don't have it, then start creating a new ledger. Hope you enjoyed my video. Hope you learned something new, how to bring in an invoice in the latest version in Tally 6.6.3, both service and as well as trading, using the GST activation with the SGST and CGST and IGST in place. This is Vinod signing out from Tally ERP 9 Snippet. You are one-stop shop for learning Tally ERP 9. And if you want more information about my programs, you can contact me through the mobile number in this list, or you can even mail me for the list. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe it. Those who have subscribed it, please do send your email address. I didn't receive your email address. I only gave my PDFs to only 2 of my subscribers. 8 subscribers didn't receive it yet. So those who want my PDF, please ping me. I will forward that to you. Have a good day, guys. Stay tuned to get more videos from me. This is Vinod signing out from Tally ERP 9 Snippet, your YouTube channel for Tally learning. Thank you so much.